Good morning, everybody. My name is Karen Kong, and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Ottawa, Canada. And welcome to my This or That Thursday. Every week, I try to post 2 cards to my Facebook group, and I ask people on Instagram and Facebook to vote for a card for me to make live on Thursday mornings. And the votes came in. Actually, there were more voters on Instagram than on Facebook. And this is the card we're making today. It's a fun fold. It makes great use of a piece of DSP that that you really like, where you really like both sides of the paper, where the pattern's beautiful on both sides. So it opens up like this, and it's really easy to make. So that's the card we're making today. Okay, so I'm just going to get my computer up and running so I can see your comments while we are crafting. If you're joining in live, I would love it if you say hi and ask questions, join in the conversation, because it's much more fun to craft together. Thank you so much, Tara, for joining in this morning and keeping me company. I know our other friends are busy today. It snowed a lot last night, so the roads are mostly clear by now, but the driveways are not. So people are busy clearing driveways, etc. Oh, my screen just went blank. Okay, it's fine. We're back. I turned the monitor just to try and get a better view, but it didn't like that. Okay, so technology is acting up a little bit, but we're just not going to touch it anymore. I'm going to leave it. Okay, so the computer set up. Let me get the camera mounted and so we can see my desktop, and we're going to get going. Okay, so close your eyes. I'm just going to move the camera and mount it over my desk. Just a second. Here we go. So we are down to the last 2 weeks before Christmas. That seems so crazy. I feel like time just speeds up in the last month before Christmas, and now I can't believe it's like weeks, less than 2 weeks away. And it feels like the pressure is mounting. I don't know about you. This year we are behind in getting our tree up. Like, I'm okay with the presents. I was really good and got presents going and everything, but our tree is physically up but not decorated. It's been so busy. All right, so I have to confess, these cards that I'm showing you today are from my class on the weekend. So I actually made them ahead of time, way before this week. And this is the card that I actually made for the class. And then I made a second one during the class using a different DSP. Tara says she is also needing to do cards and stockings and gifts, but her tree is up. Her house is decorated. So we're all in various stages. Okay, so I did these two, and I'm running out of the DSP in the painted, I think it's Painted Christmas. This is the retired DSP. So let me just check. Yeah, Painted Christmas is the DSP pack. So I chose to use yet another pattern for today, but these are the two that I've already made. We're going to follow the same idea and layout, because I just don't know if I could handle doing a live design. Even on a good day, I'm not sure if that's a good idea. And I'll show you a sneak peek of the other card that I gave you a little glimpse of. This is the other card from the class, and it opens up like this. I think it's really cute. A little pop-up. Works well with the giraffe inside. So that's my other card, and I will post pictures of that later as well. So let's make some room and start crafting. And if you're joining for the first time and you've never watched before, I always post my project measurements and products and everything you need in the video description afterwards. So no need to write everything down. I will give you those afterwards in the video description. Also, if you're wondering where all my videos go on Facebook, there is a 30-day limit on Facebook videos. So if you want to find my other videos from previous weeks, you can find them all on YouTube, and they're all up there. And if you're looking for just pictures, I also post to Instagram, so you can follow me there. And everything is up there for you. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take a new piece of DSP. This is the one I've chosen for this third card, and we'll see how it turns out. I've chosen to use a slightly different color set for this this card. I stuck to mostly the same ones when I was designing the front of this one. So we'll see how it turns out. This is going to be some live crafting and reality crafting going on. We'll see how it goes. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is you're going to cut a 12 by 12 DSP. Yes, Tara, I feel like you're going to like this one because I know that Evening Evergreen is one of your favorite colors. It's a retired color, unfortunately, but it's in this paper pattern, so we're going to use some Evening Evergreen and such. Okay, so you're going to cut the card base out of your DSP, and it's going to be 5.5 by 12. Okay, so I'm measuring it right on my paper trimmer. So 5.5, and this is a oops, I can just tell my there we go. I'm just seating the cutting blade properly. Okay, 5.5 by 12, and I'm going to turn it and I'm going to score it. Now, I'm going to be very careful when I score because DSP is thinner than cardstock, so if you get a little too excited and score very vigorously, you will pierce the paper. I have done this. I have done this more than once, and so I'm telling you and telling myself that you can't press too hard when you're scoring DSP. So I'm going to score 3 spots, 1 3/4. So I'm just very lightly scoring this and not piercing it. 4 3/4. And it looks like I'm going to have to extend my arm on the side to get the last measurement, which is 7 3/4. So just let me move these out of the way. 7 3/4. All right, so my scoring is done, and I'm going to move this out of the way, and I'll show you how to fold it. Okay, so my paper is scored here, and I think there's the next ones here and here. Okay, so this is the biggest panel here, and I'm going to fold towards it. Okay, you can choose whichever sides you want to use, and once you've folded it, you can take a look at how it looks and decide if that's what you want. And then if you want to use the other side instead, you could always just refold it in the other direction. Okay, so I made a valley fold, a mountain fold, and I'm going to get the last one is a valley fold. Okay, so that is your card base. Super simple. This is the way I want it to look. I could have gone the other way and used this pattern as my main pattern on the front, but I like the way this one looks with the accent here. Okay, let me bring back the originals for you to just keep an eye on. And we're changing up the colors here. So I am going to die cut arches. Those are from the Everyday Arches dies, and I'm going to cut the largest piece here in the back out of Evening Evergreen. So I'm going to find my Evening Evergreen. I'm going to bring in my cut and emboss machine. Let's put this here. I'm just going to make a little bit more room. And it's going to be tight cutting this piece because I actually found a piece of scrap in my package of paper that it fits exactly this width. So I'm going to be super careful, and I'm going to line it up really well. And we're going to have like minimal wastage unless I cut it wrong, and then I will have to like waste that piece of paper. But I like taking my chances. Okay. smooth that out a little bit more, and I'm going to make sure that it hasn't moved. Looks pretty good. Looks pretty straight. I'm going to go for it. All right, we have a bunch of die cutting to do. As you can see, there are more than one arch. And I think this worked out. Let's see. Oh yeah, I cut it right to the edge there. So if you can see, I have like remnants along the edges of where it cut. And I'm just going to get those out of the way, because if you leave those on the plate and you try die cutting something else, those little bits of paper are going to cause impressions on your new piece of paper. Okay, so that turned out okay. I'm going to put it aside, and I'm just going to clear off this plate so that we don't get any weird bumps in our next piece of paper. All right, so we need 2 in this size, so they're white. And that is the, and I will let you know in the description as well, it's the 5th largest arch die. I'm gonna get some white. Let's see if this fits this way. Oh yes, I love it when my scrap just fits my paper. I'm just gonna trim off what I need here, because it won't go through otherwise. I'm just doing the trimming on the sides, so I don't have to move the cut and emboss machine. And I'm just going to cut one more piece because I need 2 of them. And I'm just using my arch die to as a guide for how wide I need to trim my paper. All right. So that's 2 pieces of white, so let's cut that. Ooh, that's gonna be tight. But I do love it when it works out to use up a piece of scrap exactly. That looks okay. Oops, it's shifted. There we go. Oh, that worked out. And I have one more. So this is really a simple card. You've got the one piece of DSP that folds into your card base, and you've got just several pieces of arch dies that you're going to layer, and then you just have a little bit of decorating to do in the front, and that's it. So pretty easy. Yeah, I try to keep most of my scraps, although it does get annoying when your bin is full of like these tiny pieces, but I really appreciate them when it comes around to, you know, cutting or embossing or stamping something tiny, and I don't want to cut a brand new sheet of paper just to take out, you know, a small tiny piece for die cutting. Okay, so I have another arch in the same size, right? So I need to cut one more, and I need to use a colored cardstock, and I'm using I believe this is Soft Succulent, and we'll see how that looks. I haven't tried laying it out yet, so it's, like I said, it's reality crafting today. All right. And then we have one more after that, the smallest arch. where do you currently store your scraps, Tara? Because I have mine, I just put them back into my package with the cardstock. And I'm not, you know, overly fond of how it's storing up, but the thing is that it keeps them all together and I don't have to go searching for them because they're already with the cardstock package, the right color, so easy to find. That would be the thing. All right, I have one more to cut in white. Let me see if I can find another appropriate scrap. Oh, look at that. Love it. Okay. So if you notice, I'm turning it sideways. So if you are not, you know, you haven't used your cut and emboss machine much yet, and it's new to you, notice that if you were to run it through this way and this piece is straight, parallel with the rollers of the machine, you will get that awful snap sound when it goes through, and it's much harder to push through. So I angle it so that you don't want to have one whole piece of metal going through the rollers at one time, and that you avoid that snapping sound. Okay. Yes, Tara, I hear you on the package ripping. I actually have, I bought extra sturdy plastic sleeves to store my cardstock in, so that's not an issue anymore. Even when they rip, like, I still keep them the original packaging, but even when they rip, it's not, there's no danger of losing pieces because of where I store them. I'll show you in a second. Okay, so I think I have done all the arches, but I need to cut. I'm still going to use these. I'm still going to use these branches and the little decorative branches here. I'm going to die cut those first while I have those here, and then I'll show you where I store my paper. If you haven't seen already, I'm pretty sure I've shown you before. Okay, so I'm going to cut the. I'm going to cut the branches out of Early Espresso. I've got a piece here. I'm just going to grab the die. Let me just see. Okay, here's the die. And I need to die cut that little string of it's branches, but I've colored them to look like Christmas lights, and I got that idea from another demonstrator in the UK, Jay and Barry Soriano. They're great demonstrators. They are, I think they're one of the artistic part of the artistic design team this year. And okay, so I also need that white piece, and this is where those like 1/2-inch strips that you cut off when you're making card bases comes in very handy because it fits exactly in there. And I think, oh, I'm gonna have to die cut. I die cut an extra layer afterwards, so let's do these two first. Okay, I think that fits just right. Run that through. Okay, I just need to poke those out. So it's just the one branch, and I cut it in half for using on my card design. And let's get this punched out. There we go. Okay, and I'm going to cut So for my original card, what I did was I cut Flirty Flamingo on top there, and then I sponged it with red. But I'm going to use, because there's no Flirty Flamingo or red in the DSP I'm using for this card, I'm going to use soft suede instead. Just need to find it. And I only need the tops of these branches, okay? The needles, I suppose. So I'm just going to cut that like that. And I need a piece that is round for stamping my sentiments. So let me grab my circle dies. These are the retired layering circle dies. Oh, that's not the right size. I need the smallest one. This is the smallest circle. Okay. And I'm going to cut that out of soft succulent as well, but I'm not sure if I should use some other contrasting color. Actually, you know what? I think I would like to try using Crumb Cake instead. Let me just grab some. But we can try both. Maybe what I'll do is I'll cut both, and we'll see how it goes. I'm just trying to find a scrap of Crumb Cake. Here we go. Here's a strip cut off. We'll cut that afterwards. So let's cut this one first, and then we'll cut that last piece. Tara is saying evening evergreen with white embossing powder. Oh, that would be a interesting combination. Get this out of the way. Okay, so there's one. Just looking for my tweezers. What did I do with them? Here we go. I'll get this one popped out. Okay. And let's get Crumb Cake out. Oh, and that fits exactly. Love it. Okay, and Tara says evening evergreen. Let's see if we'll try the combinations and see what they look like. Let me see if I can find a piece of evening evergreen. Find a skinnier piece because this is such a tiny circle. I think those are too skinny. Okay, let's go with that one. Actually, let's use this long skinny piece instead. I'm going to preserve the rectangle. Okay. So we're going to be experimenting this morning. I think we have our pieces now. Let's move those out of the way. Move my cut and emboss machine. All right. So let's assemble. Let's show you how it assembles, and then actually I should stamp them before I assemble them, because if I make any mistakes, then it's easy to just replace it before I have glued it onto the card. Okay, so I'm just going to lay it out so you can see what it looks like, and I can see what it looks like. Okay, so the middle one will go here. So we're just going to line it up with wherever we have placed our arches on the back, so that they layer up nicely, and it looks nice when the card is closed. Okay, so that's how it's going to look. I am not loving how the soft succulent looks against this green. So you know what? I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to change it out for maybe, what do you think, Tara? Should I go with early espresso or crumb cake? I'm thinking crumb cake, because I think early espresso would be very dark. Okay, so I'm going to go with crumb cake. We're going to have to bring back the cut and emboss machine. And I'm going to grab some crumb cake to cut. You see how mine is like, oh, so I was going to show you. So this is my, so you can see all my original packaging is there. I have the leftover plastic from the original packaging. And this is like a sturdy piece of, I forget what they called it. It's actually not meant for like using as storage, for paper storage. I already cut my pine cone. I have a gold one lying here. Thanks, Tara. And it's actually, oh, I think it's a job order holder or something. So it had like a strip up here where it had like a hole to hang from the wall, I guess, but I didn't need it that long, so I actually trimmed it off, and this is how I'm using it. And this plastic is very sturdy, and it protects my corners from getting banged, and the edges from getting bent and stuff. So I like storing mine in here, so I've moved to doing that. Actually, I did that a long time ago. So anyways, so moving on, I have to get a piece of crumb cake out to die cut. Here we go. Here's one. I think that's big enough. And I need this size. Oh, that's worked out. This piece actually happens to be bent. Okay. But it's just big enough for me to use. Let me just trim it down so that I can put it through the cut and emboss machine. And let's bring that back. Okay, so let's angle it again so that we don't have a long piece of metal going underneath the rollers at once. It's much easier to roll through that way. There we go. Okay, let's try that again. So just for the looks, here and here. So yeah, I think that looks better. Let's go with this combination instead. Okay, so we're gonna stamp first. Like I said, if you make a mistake in the stamping at this stage, it's no big deal. You can just recut your white piece. I think I'm going to stamp in Evening Evergreen or Real Red. What do you think? I'm thinking I was going to color my my branch here with a little bit of red, so maybe it would be nice to tie that in with some red ink. And let's go with that. Okay, so I'm going to use the same sentiments. Happy Christmas from the Itty Bitty Christmas. Again, retired. This is from quite a few years ago, but the perfect size. Let's see. Happy Christmas. Here we go. I'm going to grab my block. Whoops, and pick it up. Okay, so I'm just going to look on the back to see if the stamp itself is level, sorry, not level, but straight with the actual cutout. And I'm going to line this up with the bottom edge of my block, kind of to give me a better idea when I stamp, if I line up the edge, that it will be straight. Sorry, I'm going to have to stick my head in a little bit so I can make sure that is straight. Okay. And which else? I used May the Magic of Christmas fill each corner of your home and heart. That is from Words for the Season, which is current. It's that one. I think it's this stamp. Nope. This one. There we go. Okay, so let's just double check this. I am going to move this over just a little bit, and I'm going to hold it down here so I can see if I'm lining it up correctly. Okay, that looks good. All right. So let's get our real red out. And we'll stamp this one first. And I always visually inspect to make sure that each part of my stamp is inked up properly before I go and stamp it. Okay. So using the bottom as my guide, I'm going to stamp up here. That looks good. And let's get this one stamped as well. Happy Christmas. Okay. Looks good. And I'm just going to clean off one of my stamps because I can see that I got ink on the corner of it and I don't want to ink myself by accident. Okay. And now let's try stamping these circles. I'm going to go with Evening Evergreen for the first two stamps. I'm going to get my stamp out. I'm using Joy to the World. Where did it go? Oh, here it is. Okay, let's grab a tiny block. Let's see if that fits. Oh, that's too small. All right, once again. I think that looks good. Tara's saying to skip the soft succulent. You don't think this would look good? Oh, let's try it. Actually, that's a good idea to maybe try it out. So this and this. 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 And then soft succulent. Oh, yeah, you're right. I don't think that. It's because of this green on the front that doesn't look right. So either this or crumb cake and crumb cake. Okay. Let's do the crumb cake first in Evening Evergreen. Yeah, this circle is going to save me because I don't have to be straight on that. Okay. All right, so that's Joy to the World. If I was using my Stamparatus, I would probably stamp that again to make it darker. But let's give it a try with Versamark and Emboss in white. Okay, I need to clean this off. And I'm gonna bring a piece of paper to shake my embossing powder onto. And find it. There we go. Let's just bring a scrap piece of paper. You can tell I've been like stamping all over this. Okay, and I need to grab my white embossing powder. I had planned on embossing this morning, but this is what it is. Okay, so Versamark. Oh, where's my Versamark? Here we go. All right. So ink this up. Oh, I didn't rub it with the embossing buddy. Just a second. That's to prevent any static from keeping the extra powder sticking in spots we don't want. And you can see that it turned it white. So what I'm going to do afterwards is I will brush off that white, hopefully with the brush. Okay, so let's do this. Okay. This is white embossing powder I've had in my stash for probably 20 years now. Great. Okay, I'm going to bring in my heat gun. And it's going to be a little bit noisy. Just hang in there with me. I'm just going to let that cool for a few seconds. I don't want to disturb the embossed powder that's melted now until it's fully set. So let's get this out of the way while it sets. Okay, I'm going to leave that, and I'm going to do the coloring actually while I'm at it. Let's bring in that scrap paper so I can color. So I chose the light real red this time. And I'm just going to alternate between that and Crumb Cake and Suede, I think. That seems a little dark. I'm going to get the light Crumb Cake and see if that looks better. Gives it a bit more contrast in the colors. Yeah, I think that works better. Okay. I'll color this one too. So the red is just going to give it a little pop of color here and there. Okay, I'm going to go back to coloring with the red. So I'm counting like every 3 little balls to alternate all the colors. And let's finish this up. All right, so the coloring is done. Actually, I missed the edge of this one little ball here. Let's fix that. And I'm going to take these and I'm going to brush on some extra color for depth. So I'm going to use soft suede on soft suede. Yeah, the different shades between the dark and the light Crumb Cake is quite a bit lighter actually, but it works out for this set. Okay, so I'm going to take my sponge dauber. Let's see if this is the right way up. I believe so. This one's upside down. Okay, so I'm just going to add a little bit of color to make it look like shading. Add shading onto my branches. So I'm starting at the base and kind of trying to get lighter as I go up with the pressure to give it less, make it a little bit less dark. Okay, so I think that's sufficient. And I'm going to trim off the bottoms of those little branches so that I can put them right on top of my evening the early espresso. Okay. trim these, and then we'll glue them on. So I'm just going to put little dots of glue, and I will place the die cuts on top of these. Whoops. A brand new bottle of glue, so can't push too hard. Okay, and let's do this one at the same time. Okay, and this is where my tweezers come in really handy. I believe it's this one. I'm amazed at how dark the sponging made the soft suede look, because it looks like it matches my early espresso. Huh, that's much lighter than I thought. Sorry, much darker than I thought. I'm thinking now I'm going to use Crumb Cake instead. I may add Crumb Cake after the fact, and then I'll post pictures later. But for now, we'll go with that, and we'll see how it looks. And let's brush off that excess white powder here. Let me grab the brush. So, that's looking better. All right. So let's start assembly. We'll start with the back arch. Okay, we'll put that on first. It's going to set the position for all the rest of the arches. Yeah, Tara agrees with me. We'll try the Crumb Cake for the branches after. See what time it is. Okay. All right, so using my grid paper, since it's right here, I'm going to line up my arches like this, so centered pretty much. Okay, and then we'll center this one on top. Okay, so now when I put on my middle one, I'm gonna have to be careful that I don't put any glue behind here because it's going to be exposed. Okay, so we're just going to put glue on the section that sits on the middle panel. So I'm just going to leave room for the exposed section of cardstock. Okay, so I'm using the arch behind it to line up the middle one. Okay, so you can see that there is an exposed section here. You don't want to have any adhesive showing on that. Okay, and then this last one here is going to go right on top. So again, I'm going to have to make sure that I only put glue behind this section that is being adhered to the front panel. So I'm just going to put my finger there, and we're not going to go past that point gluing. Okay. Again, I'm lining it up with the arch behind it. Okay, so I didn't do any stamping on this white arch itself, so I can glue it right on right now. Oops. That's the advantage of glue. You can still move things around after you settled it down, set it down to line things up, but then you got to be careful not to nudge it with your finger. Okay, I think that's good. All right, so let's lay this out and see how it looks. Actually, I'm going to need to cut this one in half and then lay it out on behind everything else. So I'm just going to use my original as my guide. Okay. Okay. Yeah, that is very dark. I'm gonna probably cut some crumb cake to cover those afterwards, but let's lay this out anyways and go ahead with getting these glued down, and we'll play with the color set. Okay, let's put this on first. It'd be easier to play with the components on top when this one is glued on and they don't move. Okay. Great. Okay, so this can go on. I can add my layer on top. It'll just make it, give it a bit more dimension when I do. So I'm just going to go ahead and glue this on as well. Okay. All right. Now it comes down to the Crumb Cake and the Evening Evergreen circle. Which one? So it would be like this. And I have a little gold pine cone that I cut out. So that would go on top. Okay, so here. Yeah, I think it fades in too much with the background. I think Tara had the right idea in calling the Evening Evergreen. I think that stands out more. I think I like that better. Thank you, Tara, for the suggestion. I think I'll go with that. I think that looks great together. Okay, so let's get this put down. So I know it's going to cover up this section. I'm going to put my dimensionals right onto the paper here because I know approximately where these are going to end up. Let's see if I can fit a big dimensional or if I'm going to have to use minis. I think I can use a big one for this section right here. Yeah. And then we'll put a mini one in between here. Okay, let me just check that this is still covering up. Yes, it is. I think this should be good, right? I'm going to put one over on the side. I don't want to put it on top of any of the die cuts because then it makes it uneven, and I want it to lay pretty much flat. Okay. Like that. And we're going to put this one right underneath here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a tiny little dimensional behind that. It's so small, I don't think it's going to matter that it sits a little bit on the die cuts underneath it. It's mostly supported, so I'm just going to put it here. All right, so I think I have a little bit of time. That is basically the card. I think the red adds a little pop of color in the right places, and I'm just going to add Crumb Cake instead. I'm going to cut those out. So let's bring back the cut and emboss machine. And I'm going to grab some Crumb Cake. Let's see if it'll fit on this strip here. If I can fit it like this. Oh yeah, that'll fit, no problem. Trim it down. Here we go. Sorry, can you see that? I'm just checking the screen now. I have so much stuff on my desktop, it's hard to maneuver everything around. Okay, let's get this out of the way. And I'm just grabbing my tweezers. We'll poke these out. And I'm going to add the shading using soft suede again because I think now it'll show up better. And I'm going to go light this time. I'm going to try to use a very light hand in doing this. Okay, I'm concentrating most of the ink at the bottom. Not go too far up. All right, I think that looks better. Let's trim it down. Let's add the glue right on top. Oh, that looks better. I think it was too dark before. Look at that. All right. So that's the card today. Not too bad, not too bad. So those are all the 3 different combinations. This DSP is all from the same pack. We just use different patterns for each one. So here's the last one we did. I think that turned out really well. I'm happy with that. And then the first 2. So I will post pictures of all 3 of them at a later date. Got to take some pictures. But I hope that inspires you to use your DSP. There's lots out there that I'm sure that would work for this design, and not just for Christmas. You could use it for some other occasion. Okay, so yeah, I had fun creating that. Thank you, Tara, for your suggestions and for keeping me company. And I hope that you'll create something with your stash. So have a great week, and I will see you next week one more time before Christmas. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.